Good evening and welcome to tonight's live streaming. Today we are going to be looking at some 4K cameras, professional cameras that you can use for your wedding videography, music videography, feature films, wedding videography, events videographies, real estate videography, and I'm going to be going through some of the specs. These are cheap cameras that my friends from the US, the ones where I usually buy my cameras from, asked me. They saw my live stream for Saturday and they asked me if I could sell them I could sell for them some of the cameras. This is a shop that they trade in the United States. They sell second-hand cameras, and that is mostly where I normally buy my cameras from. So I usually have some deals with them. Like last time, they sent me 30 cameras that I was selling on their behalf. And these cameras are so cheap. And because they are selling to me and I really want to help my students, I usually make a deal with them to make them even cheaper because it's in Africa. So I have a couple of cameras that were sent to me that I'm going to be selling on their behalf. And I'm going to be going through all the specs, all the available cameras that are there right now. I'm going to be going through all the specs. So if there is a specific camera that you need, just let me know in the comment section as well. And if you have any questions about cameras and stuff, just let me know as well in the comment sections. Maybe tomorrow we want to look at other accessories like drones, stabilizers, and gimbals and stuff like that. So that is what this live is all about. So let me know where you are watching me from as we are sharing the live stream. Also, share the live stream as well. Let's do this. So that's what we are going to be talking about today, guys. It's going to be fire. It's really going to be fire. Just let me know where you are watching me from. I'm busy sharing the stream right now. And as we are waiting for people to join, also be sharing the stream. It's going to really help a lot. It's going to really help a lot. So we are going to go through some of the cameras. Most of these cameras, I have used them before. I think there's only 2 or 3 cameras that I haven't used on this list that have sent me. But most of them, I have used them before. So I know exactly what most videographers need. So help me to share the stream so that we can have a few people joining. I know today's live started late. It has been raining for the past 2 days. It's still raining actually outside. So this live stream is not going to be really that long as usual, but I'm going to try my best to answer as many questions as I can. Let me know where you are watching me from. And I'm just sharing my stream right now. Help me to share as I'm sharing. Also help me to share. There are so many people who are looking for cameras, and honestly, buying cameras is slightly a big challenge for most videographers. First, to get money itself, it's a problem. Videography cameras are so expensive, especially if you're going to be doing clients' work. You need to get a really good camera. Usually, they're so expensive. Secondly, even if you get the money where to buy like really good deals, it's still a problem because there's a lot of scammers there. Some people actually be like, oh, can I use eBay to buy? What if I pay and the camera doesn't ship and stuff like that? So those things happen a lot, quite a lot. So having somebody like me in the game trying to hook you up with some of the cameras and where it's definite, then I think that's pretty good, helpful as well. So mostly all these cameras, the waiting time, the maximum waiting time, if you consider to get one of these cameras that I'm going to be talking about, the maximum waiting time is 10 days. Just really under 2 weeks, you will be having your camera. And mostly, I'm not shipping to Pakistan. I saw someone from Pakistan texting me, do you ship to Pakistan? I said, no, I usually ship around Africa, so it doesn't really matter where you are. I've shipped cameras to most African countries in the past, so I've been doing this, and that's what we are going to be discussing a lot today. So just let me know where you're watching me from, and so that we can greet and talk a little. Let's see the people that are tuning in. Oh my God, come on, what's going on? Okay, there we go. Let me know. I'm live on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook as well. So for some of you who, oh, snap. For some of you who are catching me in Facebook, let me know. Some of you are catching me on YouTube, let me know. And some of you are catching me on TikTok, let me know as well. All right, it's time for us to look at the comments. And most of you always wondering, hey, is this video really live or it's recorded? This video is live. I'm going to be reading some of the comments here. And yeah, it's going to be really amazing. It's going to be really amazing. I can see so many people have already joined on TikTok, on Facebook as well. If you are joining, just know that you have to share the video. Let's share the video. You know, one of the most difficult industry to explore. One of the most difficult industry to explore is filmmaking. You know, to grow as a filmmaker, because this industry is really like a niche. You know, there isn't really so many people in the industry itself. So it's really like a niche. And if you don't help to share the stream, we're not going to have a lot of people watching. So that's what we are going to talk about. Once again, we are going to talk about some cheap camera deals. The cameras that I'm going to be showing you today are good second-hand cameras, or in working conditions. They come with chargers, they come with batteries. You just really put a lens and, you know, start filming. So for some of you who've been wondering, hey, we have the money, but how to buy cameras? It's a problem. We're afraid of scammers. I'm here to plug you. All right, so let's start with YouTube. So I can see Mr. KV Shots says a Sony A7S Mark III. Yeah, I have it here. I'm also going to be telling you the prices of these cameras as well. So it's here. I'm going to talk about it. Mr. Robert from Uganda. I'm interested in Canon R5. I also have it. I'm going to talk about it in just a moment. YouTube here, Mr. Eastern Horizon Studios, YouTube here in Zambia. Thank you for tuning in. I can see Fieco TV. What camera are you using for this video? For this video, I'm using the Red Mysterium X. Thank you. Let's see on YouTube. I'm checking you from Ugandan Barara. Salute, Papa. This is TV Video Director. Thank you so much for tuning. Let's go to Facebook. Let's see how many people are tuning in and if we have some questions. Stanley says, I'm SKB watching live from Malawi. Keep it up, San Pedro. Thank you so much. Mr. CMZW says, let's go, guys. Thank you so much. Mr. Chiku is also here. Thank you for tuning in. Do you have a gimbal that you are selling at the moment? We have quite a lot of gimbals. So today there's a lot of cameras that I'm going to be discussing. You know, the good part buying a camera from me is I'm going to tell you all the specs, what it can do, what it is good at, what is not good at. So today I'm going to really be focusing much on the cameras because there are many, but I have some gimbals as well. I have a lot of Zhiyun gimbals, Ronin S, Ronin SC. All those gimbals are available. Maybe tomorrow we can schedule another live to talk about some accessories like gimbals, lights, you know, and stuff like that. All right, that is Mr. CNZ was asking, Copano Togo is Copano Togo, Togoe, says South African, Western Cape. Thank you so much for tuning. Mr. Chico Isaac also, he says, Cape Town, we are here. Thank you. I have a lot of people joining from Cape Town today. I can see Mr. Mike Major watching from Zambia. I can see Mr. Clever watching all the way from Ghana. Thank you for tuning. I can see Mr. Bliss Enterprise watching from Malawi. I can see T Cross Emma watching from Zambia. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Modise joining from Dunnington, South Africa. Thank you so much. Watching from Johannesburg, this is Lawrence. Thank you for tuning in. I got a lot of people that are tuning. You are all welcome. For everybody who is watching, you are all welcome. Today, we're looking at some of the cheapest good deals cameras that you can get. and we're going to be talking about the specs. You know, I'm going to roughly talk about some of the important things that you need to look out for when you are purchasing a camera, and this is the question that most people have been asking me about. So, what good settings if you are using 5D Mark II? When you're shooting a music video, Collins from Zambia, settings, they change. There isn't really like standard settings, but what I can advise is if you have a camera in your hands, what you need to do is record a few videos, right, with different settings. You know, each and every camera will record at different formats and codecs. Record some clips at each and every different codecs that your camera can offer. Record with different picture styles. Take all those footage, put them in the computer, and see which ones you like better, and then you stick to those settings. Then things like white balance, ISO, shutter speed, and all those things are things that can change as you are shooting. So those are not the kind of settings that a professional filmmaker like me, I can just give to somebody to say, shoot at standard, and then set your ISO to 400, and then set, if you are shooting at night, set your white balance to this, because all these things are likely to change. So in order for you to really get the best help, I think you can really find it from my course, DSLR Cinematic Filmmaking, where I go through each and every camera settings and explain to you in details what it does, how it affects your image, and which kind of settings you might stick to for specific types of shoots and stuff like that. So getting that knowledge beforehand is really very important before you even get a camera. All right, what software do you use for live streaming? I use OBS. I use mostly OBS and Vmix. Right now I'm using Vmix. Someone actually asked me to say, Vmix is a paid software, even though in the course I have described some ways that you can use Vmix for free. I have a course, Live Streaming Pro, where you learn everything to do with live streaming. I have explained some few steps that you can actually use Vmix for free. But if the other thing is Vmix doesn't really install in iMacs, you know, Apple computers, it doesn't really install. But if you want a free, really nice software for live streaming, custom live streaming like what I do, OBS would be the best. And someone asked me to say, can you do multi-stream with OBS? The answer is yes. Right now I'm live streaming to 3 platforms at once, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. You can also do that using OBS. So if you are into live streaming class, I think there's a tutorial there which goes through that. You can also live stream straight to Instagram using your computer, using this whole setup, using OBS. So it's really good software as well. All right. So Mr. Mike Major here is asking as well. He says, oh man, we've got a lot of questions. I think we should get right into these details. Otherwise, we're not going to finish. There's a lot of cameras. If I don't finish them today, to go through each one of them today, so that even when you are trying to purchase a camera, you can make a really informed decision, at least some of the stuff that you need to look at when you're purchasing a camera and stuff like that. We are going to be going through all of those kind of stuff in today's live stream. Each and every camera, I'm going to show you all the specs that it has, and hopefully you can make an informed decision. All right. Mr. Jag says, boss, how do you set up this live stream? I think I have a lot of tutorials on YouTube with regards to live streaming. In fact, the highest viewed video on my YouTube channel is about live streaming. So I did quite like 3 videos. The other video I was showing everything that is in this studio that I use when I'm doing live streaming. The other video is really about live streaming, the connections, what cameras I use and stuff like that. And then the other video is just really roughly showing you how I connect all these live streams. So you can get that video on Facebook, on YouTube. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I don't know what you're waiting for, because I really post a lot of informative tutorials there. You know, I'm not on YouTube to try and get people to subscribe and make money and do that. I really post videos on YouTube solely to provide value. So I don't really post mediocre stuff there. things that are not polished and stuff like that. So whenever I post something, I know that there's a lot of people who want to, you know, take advantage of such kind of stuff. Mostly it is the questions that I usually get from you guys, especially when I'm live. There's a lot of tutorials already in the pipeline that I'm working on for the questions that you guys have been asking me, because sometimes when you ask a question here, I might not really explain it properly on live like this, because the way I deal with tutorials or my online classes is really practical. So someone was telling me to say, like the question that someone just asked, how do you set up the live stream? You know, I can tell you to say, I have put the sound on the camera HDMI to the capture card. The capture card I'm using is Xcast, and then it goes to the computer. It's not really like elaborate. So at least if I'm explaining and I'm showing behind the scenes and everything that I'm doing, it's much better. So I post such kind of videos on my YouTube account. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube account, I really don't know what you're waiting for. All right, boss, you are boss for a reason. So you are live in almost 3 to 4 platforms, and it seems as if you are using a camera, not a computer camera or phone. Yeah, I'm using a camera with a computer, and I'm live at 3 different platforms at this same time. Mr. Eras Kelly says, legendary, watching from Cameroon. Legendary, Mr. Pedro. How is Yaoundé? I was in Cameroon, I think 2 years back in Yaoundé. Wonderful country. Watching from Zimbabwe, this is Personache Moyo. Thank you so much for everybody who is tuning in. All right, so today we are going to be discussing about cameras that you can use to film clients' projects. You know, I discussed a few about really beginner cameras that you can get in my last live. You have to check that live as well. If you are into content creation, maybe you just really want to be doing YouTube videos like this, maybe live streaming and stuff like that. I went through some of the beginner equipment that you can get. But today, I'm really looking at the professionals, you know, not really like super professionals where you use cinema cameras and stuff like that, but you know, run and gun professionals, people who are into music videos, wedding videos, events, you know, documentaries and feature films, small films, stuff like that. So those are the kind of cameras that I'm going to be discussing, and each and every camera that I requested that these guys should send to me is a 4K camera, because in 2025, as a filmmaker, if you are going to really look for a good camera, I would really suggest, if the budget allows, push yourself to get at least a 4K camera, because even though it is not like the standard resolution, but it is the most resolution that is on demand right now. So if you are going to shoot a client and you are telling them, I'm shooting your videos in full HD, maybe the people who doesn't understand, you know, a lot of this technical stuff, all they want is really good picture quality and stuff like that. And you can get, you know, just because a camera is 4K, and this is what I tell people in my class, just because a camera is a 4K, it doesn't really mean that it has got the better quality more than HD, you know. 4K HD, this is just really like video size, you know, it's just really the video size. So it is just really okay, you know, to watch. Most people don't have 4K displays, by the way. So even if you shoot your videos in 4K, most people are still gonna watch your video in HD displays, because HD is the current standard resolution through which people watch their videos, mostly through which people consume their videos. Even broadcasting stations here in Africa, all the broadcasting stations here in Africa, there is no broadcasting station that is broadcasting in 4K. Everything is still in HD. So I always tell my filmmakers that if you are starting and you get an HD camera, it's not really it's not really bad. It's not really like you are not gonna create wonderful videos. But if you can fight for a 4K camera, that is good, because soon 4K will become the standard. You know, mostly our phones will start watching most videos in 4K and stuff like that. We are just talking about 2-3 years, so it's really a good way of like future-proofing your work, you know. So it doesn't really matter, but today I'm just really gonna look at all the 4K cameras. These are second-hand cameras, and I'm gonna be telling you the prices for each camera, the settings, not the settings, the specs of each camera. And if you are looking for a camera, maybe this might be a really good deal. All right, we have so many questions that are coming like crazy. Okay, let's go to YouTube. Oh my God. Daniel Mvula 3, watching in Zambia. Thanks for your mentorship. You are welcome. Which light do you recommend that you use? I have a full video about this studio tour on my YouTube channel. Just check the video studio tour where I describe each and every item that is in this studio, from light, sound, cameras, computers, everything that is in this studio. So you will have a perfect idea. And I just didn't describe all those things. I also attached a price both in dollars and in rand. So it's really better you check that out. Then you will have an overview of what kind of lighting I'm using and audio and stuff like that. I can see TV video director says, hey Papa, I'm watching from Ugandan, Mbarani, big up my Papa, salute. Thank you so much, TV video director. Maxim 3 say, how about Canon EOS R only? I have Canon EOS R on the list. I'm going to talk about it now. All right, let's see people who are watching on TikTok. If they have any questions, I can see Wingy Studio watching from Ghana. I can see what camera can I invest when I shoot local movies in Zim. You can really invest among cinema cameras. You know, I can recommend the cheapest camera that I also have on this list. I can recommend a camera like a Blackmagic SR Mini 4.6K. I can recommend Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, 6K, 6K Pro. You can really create really nice short movies with those cameras. You can get C70, you can get Canon C200, you can get even Canon C300. You know, it's a 4K sensor that shoots in HD, really beautiful videos. I can see QN Time Media says, good afternoon, watching from Pretoria, Menlin. Oh, thank you so much for tuning. Good afternoon, watching from Pretoria, Menlin. Thank you so much. I can see a lot of people are tuning in. So let's start with some cameras that we have that are for sale. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So if you haven't shared the stream, please do share. Please do share. All right, the first camera, if you are, this camera is actually underrated, but it's still really good. So the first camera that is available is the Lumix GH4. This camera, I think it's the first DSLR camera to shoot 4K. If I remember correctly, it was the first, and trust me, they did everything great in this camera. The sensor size is 16 megapixel CMOS sensor, live CMOS sensor. It has got a micro four third sensor. The sensor is micro four third. Of course, it shoots 4K DCI. So there's two types of 4K videos. There's Ultra HD, which is 3840 by 2160. That is also 4K, but it's called Ultra HD. Then there is True 4K, the 4K DCI, which is 4096 by 2116. This is like the True 4K, and the Lumix GH4 offers that. You know, the bit rates, it goes up to 200 megabits per second, which is good. It has got, it shoots in AV, CHD, MP4, and MOV. I used this camera for a long time. Since 2016, when it came out, I bought this camera, and I've been using, no, not 2014, if I remember properly, but I bought it in 2016. That's when I started using it. So I shot this camera for a whole year. I shot music videos, I shot wedding videos, I shot events videos, I shot live DVD recordings. In fact, this is the camera that actually connected me to most of the celebrities that you have seen me working. You know, they saw my work somewhere with the Lumix GH4. It's really good. One thing that I love about it, you can actually use it to live stream videos like this because it has got a clean HDMI output. It has got a microphone in, a microphone, a headphone jack, and a microphone in input. It shoots, sadly, internally 420 8-bit, but externally, if you pair it with the Atomos Ninja V, you can actually shoot in 10-bit. You can also, if you are going to shoot in 10-bit, you know how I feel about flat picture style. You can also install Vlog in this camera to shoot flat. It's a really good camera, and it's very cheap. The one that I have, it cost around $470 US. So that is the GH4. It's the cheapest camera that I can recommend to everybody who really wants to get into that. They don't have enough budget, but they want a 4K camera that can deliver. The GH4 will not disappoint you. So if you pair it with a lens like the Sigma 18-35 with a Metabone speed booster 07.1 magnification, you have a solid camera. You have an APS-C size sensor with that addition of the Metabone speed booster 0.71. Really good. The next camera that I love, this is the best camera of all time. I love this camera with all my heart. The next camera is the Lumix GH5. This is the camera that has set me up in my videography career. You know, I won awards just using this camera. My videos have won best video of the year just using this camera. It's a 20.3 megapixel CMOS sensor as well. It has got the processor, it's a Venus engine processor. It's a Micro Four Third, sadly, and I'm going to explain a little bit why Micro Four Third, APS-C, Super 35, full frame, media format, why sensor size is important, and why I actually really like small sensor size. You know, I've been shooting a lot. For some reason, I don't really like full frame cameras. They've got a lot of benefits, right? But that doesn't really come with some downsides as well. I'm going to discuss a little bit about it. So this one is a Micro Four Third mount. It also shoots 4K up to 60 frames per second. It also shoots 4K DCI, which is that 4096 by 2160, the true 4K, and then it shoots also UHD 3840 by 2160, up to 60 frames per second. The bitrate, the highest bitrate it can record is 400 megabits per second. If you don't know bitrate, bitrate is the amount of data that is being transferred per second when you are watching the video. So the higher the bitrate, the higher the quality of the video. So the GH4 has got 200 megabits per second, which is still really good. The video that come out from that camera are still really solid, but the GH5 takes it even to the next level where it shoots 400 megabits per second. The best part about this Lumix GH5, it has got the best in-body image stabilization on the market, I believe, until today, because the sensor is so small, so it can shift inside around to make sure your footage is stabilized. It can also record 10-bit internally, unlimited recording. It has got two memory cards. You put in two memory cards so you can have instant backup. It shoots really amazing videos. It has got a clean HDMI output as well. The one thing I love about this camera, I think it is the first DSLR camera to introduce a big headphone jack. So Lumix have been revolutionary when it comes to, you know, video size, video specs. So in this video, in this live stream as well, I'm not going to be discussing anything to do with photography. If you want us to talk about photography specs and stuff like that, I think we can create another live. So today I'm just really focusing on the video side. So that is the Lumix GH5. I have the Lumix GH5 and it's going for $720 US. So if you are interested, you can just take my number in one of my bio. Please, if you want to purchase these cameras, I know there are a lot of scammers that are watching. If you don't talk to me, if you don't hear this voice that I'm talking to you, you want to purchase a camera, please don't go ahead with the deal, because there are so many people who tries to sell cameras in my name, and it's not good. So if you are interested, you can just take my WhatsApp number. It's somewhere there in the bio, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook. My number is there in the bio, and you can just WhatsApp me so that we can make arrangements. Some of you, there are people who are buying cameras, they are paying in installments. So if you don't have the money up front and there's a camera here that you like, you can make an arrangement and see how we can help you. All right, so that is the Lumix GH5. It's a really wonderful camera. The bad side, though, it doesn't really have good autofocus because the sensor is so small. It's really bad when it comes to low light. And what else? Yeah, I think those are the two main specs that people actually complain about when it comes to the Lumix GH5, the smaller sensor, which causes really to struggle with good autofocus as well as low light performance. But if you are a filmmaker, autofocus is not really something that you should really focus on when you are purchasing a camera, because sooner or later you are going to start using cinema cameras that doesn't even have autofocus capabilities. Even if you are using a really good camera like the R5, Sony A1, like these beasts when it comes to autofocus, sooner or later, if you are a videographer, sooner or later you're gonna start using prime lenses, videography lenses that doesn't really have autofocus. So you just really have to learn autofocus. So I don't see the reason why a filmmaker can really complain about the camera not having good autofocus, because for me, even if the camera has got good autofocus, I still choose to use manual focus because I'm really used to manual focus. On my YouTube channel, there's a video there where I talked about 10 ways that you can always make sure that your video is in focus even if you are using manual lenses. All right, so when it comes to the sensor size, as a videographer, lighting is the most important part of videography. If your lighting sucks, your video will suck as well. So as a videographer, you need also to have some lights. Don't rely on the camera's abilities to shoot in low light, because sooner or later, you're gonna have to find a way of shaping light. Even if the camera is so good in low light, you will not just shoot where light has not been shaped. Sooner or later, you still need light to shape light. Maybe you need some, screens. You need some reflectors and stuff like that. So people complaining about the GH5 not really performing good in low light, I think it's just really a mentality of most beginner. If you are a beginner, I don't really think it's a good choice to go with. There are so many cameras on this list that we are going to talk about that can perform really good in low light and stuff like that. So that is the Lumix GH5. And then the last Lumix that I'm going to discuss about is the Lumix GH6. Right, the Lumix GH6, this one is selling at $1,200 US, $1,200 US. And let's look at the specs for this camera. Okay, so this one is a 25.2 megapixel sensor. It's also a micro four third sensor, but it shoots the resolution of up to 5.7K, which is really high resolution. It shoots 4K up to 120 frames per second, which is really good for those people who love slow motion, and full HD at 240 frames per second. It has got a lot of video codecs. It has got H.264, it has got H.265, HEVC, and Apple ProRes. The bitrate goes up to 1.9 gigabits per second, which is a lot of data. I'm sure it's because of that 5.6K. So that is the Lumix GH6, which is selling at $1,200 US. It records 10-bit, which is really good for color grading and stuff like that. And it does all this internally. It records Apple ProRes 422 HQ, 422 internal recording. It has got 4-channel audio, and it's really a professional camera. One thing that I forgot to mention with the GH4 and the GH5 is all these cameras have got waveform monitor. They've got vector scope, focus peaking, zebra patterns, and anamorphic support. So all these cameras also, they record open gate, which means the camera can use the full sensor. So when you are shooting pictures with some of these DSLR camera, the camera will use the full sensor. But the moment you switch it to video, it has to maintain that 16:9 ratio, so it crops on the sensor. So having a camera that can shoot open gate using the whole sensor, it is really good because you are not losing any details. You are not you are using the full sensor of the camera. And yeah, the Lumix GH5, the GH6 actually has got 13 stops of dynamic range. I believe the Lumix GH5 has got the dynamic range of about 12 stops of dynamic range. The Lumix GH4, 11 stops of dynamic range. they really suffer when it comes to those things because of their sensor, but overall, they are really, really good cameras. Next on the list, my favorite. Now, this, if you are a beginner, you know, you want a camera that can do really good autofocus, good in low light, can record, it can record 4K video. I think you should look at the Sony ZV-E1. This is a wonderful, wonderful camera. This is a wonderful camera. Let's see if we have some questions. Let's see if we have some some questions so that we can go through some of those things. Because today I'm doing like bam, bam, bam. Oh, where's the mouse for this thing? All right, here on TikTok, which camera is this being explained? Anyone, please? Okay, I have explained 3 cameras, GH4, GH5, and GH6. So I'm about to start explaining the Lumix, the Sony ZV-E1. All right. I can see people, they are sharing the live, which is good. Today, I think I have many people sharing the live, which is really good. Thank you so much for the support. If you record with Lumix GH5 and Atomos Ninja Ultra, will there be difference on footage recorded by the camera, SD card, and Atomos? There won't be any difference. There won't be any difference. I think that is the experiment that I did. In my opinion, I feel like the Ninja V actually records slightly higher quality because of the codecs, right? But there isn't really much difference. The one that you take from your SD card, if that is the same settings that you are using on the Atomos, I think the video will still look the same. Do you sell prices include shipping costs to Zimbabwe? Of course. So if you are trying to buy a camera, the shipping prices, they are all included. They're all included. All the people that have sold items in Zimbabwe, they never paid for any shipping. You know, I just go to the bus, speak to the conductor. Maybe they will need 200 rand, 300 rand, and then they'll deliver the camera. You just get the number. They'll deliver the camera. You'll be talking to the conductor of the bus until they reach there. Okay, do you have a course on Premiere Pro? I have a wonderful course on Adobe Premiere Pro where I teach everything to do with editing, teaching you Adobe Premiere Pro as in software and stuff like that. Which camera can you recommend for podcast between Nikon Z series, Sony A, Lumix GH, or FX? I think for podcasts, I would recommend a camera that has got really good audio input. And fortunately, all these cameras have got audio input. I would really recommend Sony FX cameras. Those are the cameras that I use for, I have Sony FX3, 2 of them that I use for podcasts. Actually, they've been hired as I'm speaking to you right now. Someone is always hiring them for podcasts. Those are the cameras that I use because they are really good when it comes to low light. And you know, with podcasts, mostly people don't have budget for a lot of lights. So if you have like a few lights there that you can use to shape the light, I think that is good. So I would go with Sony FX series. If you have FX30, FX3, FX6, those are really great. And then on the GH, I would really, it would depend on the budget, by the way. It would depend on the budget, but all the cameras like GH4, GH5, GH6, they are wonderful. But I also recommend cameras like the Lumix H1 because they are full frame Lumix cameras. So when you are doing podcasts, maybe you have a set and you want the set to be a little bit wider. A full frame would work really great, but it doesn't mean that the micro four thirds will not work. If you have like a wide angle lenses there, like the Sigma 18-35 or the Canon 16-35 or the Tokina 11-16, those are the lenses that I have been using on the Lumix GH5, GH5S, GH5 Mark II, GH5-6. All right, GH6 I mean. Mr. Mkanya is watching all the way from Rustenburg, Northwest. Thank you for tuning. Do you sell good second-hand equipment for photography or videography? Collins from Zambia. I sell good second-hand equipment, mainly videography. I'm cooking something for photography. The reason that I don't really major so much in photography is it's a whole new space. It's not really like, or just because you're a videographer, you can also just take pictures and stuff like that. So I've been working on a photography course, and the approach is slightly different from videography. So for now, I just really focus so much on videography, and I provide cameras in videography. Is it good to stream using multiple phone camera, Droid Cam on OBS? It is good. It's really good. Instead of using Droid Cam, I think you should look for another app called IV Cam, right? In one of my courses, on one of my tutorials in YouTube, it is there, that camera. All right, let's continue. Let's continue with the Sony ZV, with the Sony ZV-1. Let's continue with the Sony ZV-E1. So the Sony ZV-E1 is selling for $650 US. It's good second hand. This is a really good 12.1 megapixel full frame XMOR CMOS sensor, really good. It has got a dynamic range, 15 plus stops of dynamic range. It's a beast. The lens mount is a Sony E mount. It shoots 4K UHD, right? Doesn't shoot this eye, sadly, but it shoots 4K UHD, which is 3840 by 2116. The frame rates, it shoots 4K up to 120 frames per second, really good, and full HD up to 240 frames per second. It records in up to 600 megabits per second. It records 422 10-bit internally, which is really good for color grading. It has got real-time tracking, AI-powered auto framing, focus breathing compensation, and stuff like that. So the Sony ZV-E1 is the body is small, but what it can do, it's amazing. It's massive. All right, away from the Sony ZV-E1, we have the Sony A6700. We have the Sony A6700. Let me know if you have questions. This live stream is really, really, really tight. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. All right, let's look at some questions here. Many questions today. Mr. John Samson watching from Nigeria. Thank you. Boss watching from Botswana. This is AN Do. Thank you. Watching from Georgia, Western Cape. Thank you. From George, Western Cape. This is Chester. Boss, is it good to stream using multiple? Yeah, it's good. Boss, is it good? Okay. Repeated question. I see your live stream has caption. Is there something you are using for captions? I think you can actually turn off the caption in your settings. You can just really turn it off. There isn't really like anything. This is Facebook's auto caption sort of feature that is there already. Master, what about lens? Is it included? Lenses, all these cameras are just really camera bodies. Lenses you have to buy separate. All right. Is Canon 90D still good? Really good, really good. I'm going to talk about the Canon 90D sooner, but for now, let's talk about the Sony A6700 or Sony A6700. This camera is selling at $1,500 US, and it's a beast of a camera. It has got 26 megapixel XMOR APS-C CMOS sensor. It has got 14 plus stops of dynamic range. The lens mount is Sony E mount, shoots 4K UHD. up to 120 frames per second, Full HD up to 240 frames per second. It has got, it records up to 600 megabits per second, which is so much data. It records 42210-bit internally, really good camera, and it sells for $1,500 US. And then next on the line, we have the OG, the Sony a7S Mark II, which has got a 12.2 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor. The lens mount, Sony E-mount, shoots 4K up to 30 frames per second, sadly. And I always advise that if you are going to get a 4K camera, 30 frames per second is not bad, but if you can get a 60 frames per second in 4K, I think you are set for the next 5 years, because 4K is quickly becoming the new standard. It is still going to be around, and it also shoots 120 frames per second in Full HD. Sadly, I used the Sony a7S Mark II for some time, but it doesn't record in 10 bits, which it just records in 8-bit, which is slightly difficult for color grading, and the bitrate is really low. Even the GH5, even the GH4 is better. It only has up to 100 megabits per second. I think it's one of the cheapest cameras that I have here. So if you have a question about that, let me know. Yeah, the Sony a7S Mark II, it is selling at $700 US. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Let's see what people are saying on YouTube. Oh man, have a lot of questions today. Full HD and HD, which one good for quality videos? HD and Full HD is one and the same thing. It's one and the same thing. Both is 1920 by 1080. So there is half HD, which is 1280 by 720. So when you hear people saying HD, they could mean half HD or Full HD. So if you are saying Full HD, you are talking about 1920 by 1080. But if you are saying HD, you might not know which kind of HD, because there's half HD, which is 1280 by 720 resolution. So Full HD 1920, which is like the proper HD, the Full HD, and then there's another HD, half HD. So whichever you want. Now I will not even advise anybody to get a half HD camera, because it is too small in 2025. All right, let's go. I am watching you in all the platforms, Master. It's Maxi. Thank you so much, Mr. Maxwell, for looking it up. How is the quality across all the platforms? Because some people will say, I think maybe it just looks good on YouTube, but maybe Facebook, all the quality is good across all the platforms. Let's see what people on TikTok are saying. Mr. Lewis Jaya TV says, watching from Kenya. Thank you for tuning. All right, no much questions. Let's proceed on the next camera. These are really professional cameras, really great cameras, and I really recommend them. If you are a videographer shooting wedding videos, music videos, and stuff like that, these are some pretty good deal cameras, you know. And just a side note though, I don't really recommend if you are beginning, I don't really recommend videographers to buy a new camera from the shop. You know, I think second-hand cameras that are still working are the best options, because why I'm saying that is camera technology changes really quickly. You know, you can get a camera new today, but it doesn't guarantee that you're gonna use it for the next 3 years, even though it will be still capable. But there will be other rival cameras that will be there. So I wouldn't really advise as a videographer who is starting to buy a new camera, because a new camera will be always slightly expensive. So it's better you get the same camera second-hand, so that you can use the change to get other things. You know, it's not just really the camera that matters. In fact, things that really matters a lot, that makes your work easier, are things like having a good lens there, having a cage on your camera, having an external monitor on your camera, having a matte box. These are small, cheap things, but they make a huge difference when you are filming, and they make your cameras look really cool, and people begin to take you serious. All right, next, let's look at the Sony a7 Mark III. I used this camera a lot. This one is selling for 1,250 US dollar. It's a really good camera. It's a really good camera. Not the Sony a7S. The Sony a7S III. All right, the Sony a7S Mark III is selling for 1,700 US dollar. It's a little bit pricey, but I know the reason why. It has got 12.1 megapixel CMOS sensor. It has got a Sony E-mount, records 4K video up to 120 frames per second, and full HD video up to 240 frames per second. I think I spoke about this camera. Yeah, I think I spoke about this camera. Let's go to the next camera, which is the Sony a7 IV. It's a beast of a camera. I think Sony cameras, really good. Yeah, the Sony a7 Mark IV sells at 1,600 US dollar for the body only. It has got a 33 megapixel sensor. It's a full frame sensor, and it shoots up to 4K 60 frames per second, full HD up to 120 frames per second, records 422 10-bit internal recording. It has got other features like real-time tracking, AI-powered subject recognition, focus breathing compensations, Cinetone color science, which is really a good picture profile. It instantly makes your video look more cinematic. It's really good. It's a nice camera, worth to check on. My favorite OG Sony camera that I have, which is the Sony FX30. Really good. This is an APS-C CMOS sensor, 26 megapixel. It has got 14 stops of dynamic range. Resolution goes up to 4K 120 frames per second, full HD 240 frames per second, records up to 600 megabits per second, records also 422 10-bit internally, which is good. It also has real-time tracking, AI-powered subject recognition, focus breathing compensation, Cinetone color science. It also enables you to install LUTs inside the camera, time code and tally lamps. It's a really professional camera. These are the cameras that I even recommend. FX30 is not that expensive. Second hand on our deal here, it's going for 1,600 US dollar. All right, so some cameras, it might have a lot of impressive specs, but it might be cheaper than the other one, because remember, these are second hand. Also, the condition of the camera will determine the pricing. So you'll find that maybe a GH5 can even be more expensive than a camera like this based on their condition. Maybe the GH5 is almost new, it might still sell a little bit higher and stuff like that. So for some of you are saying, how come the Sony what is so expensive than a lower camera? It's also based on some of those factors, the condition in which it's being sold on. But all the cameras are being sold with a battery in working condition. Maybe you have those wear and tear kind of stuff. Maybe the camera has been used a lot. Maybe the hours on the cameras might be a little bit higher and stuff like that. So that is also what is affecting the pricing. So the Sony FX6 is selling at 1,600 US dollar. A really good camera. And then from there, we take a look at one of the cameras that I really liked. When I wanted to branch from the GH5, I looked at this camera for some time. I actually used it on a couple of projects. I like the colors, the video look, the texture of the video. We are talking about the Fujifilm X-T30, I mean, which has got 26.1 megapixel APS-C sensor, and it records 4K video at 30 frames per second. This is what actually stopped me, because I wanted a 4K that can record 60 frames per second. But the Fujifilm X-T30 records up to 30 frames per second in 4K, Full HD at 120 frames per second. The maximum bitrate as well is the one that stopped me a little. This one records at 200 megabits per second. The good part though is, even though internally it doesn't really record 10-bit, but it has an option to record 10-bit 422 out via HDMI with F-Log Gamma, which is really good. It's a good camera that you can also look at. All right. We are going through the cameras, guys, the specs. And before you buy a camera, guys, don't just really rush. If you hear me mentioning a camera here, don't just rush to just buy it. We have things like YouTube, where you can check what other people have been able to create with that camera. You know, look for things that are in your niche. If you go on YouTube, you search for Fujifilm X-T30 music video, you see what other filmmakers have been able to create with that camera. That is really how you purchase a camera. So if maybe, for example, you want to do a lot of other stuff like wedding videos, events videos and stuff, there's always one niche that you are actually really good at, and you are buying the camera for that really main reason. So you start by searching. If you are looking for documentaries, maybe I want to do documentary with this camera. When you go on YouTube, type the name of the camera and look for documentaries that were shot on that camera, and see if you like the look, if you like what other filmmakers are able to achieve with that camera. That's how I usually buy my cameras, you know. I look at what other people are able to get with it. Some of the cameras that you have, guys, that you are taking for granted and like, oh man, this camera is poor, I'm advising you, go on YouTube and see what other people have been able to create with that camera. You'll be shocked. That is when you will know that you actually need a bit of skills, not just really the camera. So the Fujifilm X-T30 is selling at $800 US, really good. And some of the specs, I've already gone through the specs. It's a wonderful camera. And right now I'm looking at the list of the cameras that they sent to me. Next, we are looking at the Fujifilm X-T4. This camera, it almost corrupted me. I loved this camera to the max. This one is selling at $1,200 US, which is really a good deal for what you get out of this camera. The Fujifilm X-T4 shoots, it has got a sensor, an APS-C sensor, 26.1 megapixels. Of course, the lens mount, it's a Fujifilm X mount, which is slightly difficult to come across. That is what stopped me from this camera. Otherwise, it shoots 4K up to 60 frames per second, Full HD up to 240 frames per second. It has got some few codecs like H.264, you know, H.265, HEVC, and stuff like that. The good part as well, it also records up to 400 megabits per second, which is a lot of data, and that's why it also records 422 10-bit output via HDMI, and it doesn't record 10-bit internally. That is what stopped me from getting this camera. But Fujifilm, I love the colors of Fujifilm. Amazing, amazing colors. It has got also Fujilog, F-Log, Gamma, internal recording, records up to 4K 60 frames per second, which is really great. And some of the stuff that you really need to be aware of when it comes to cameras is the ISO value. You see, if you're looking for a camera that has got really good performance in a low light, right? You don't have to necessarily go and check. You can just look at the specs. The higher the ISO value in the camera, the good it is for it to perform in low light. So some of these cameras that I'm mentioning, I hope you are writing them. Just go and check through the specs, look at the ISO value numbers, look at some other stuff that I'm not mentioning here. I'm just really mentioning things that really matter to a videographer when they are picking up a camera, you know. So I'm just going through some of those stuff and telling you the prices. Next, we have the beast of a camera. I think this is a camera that I can recommend to so many videographers, to so many, especially those who are coming into the game. I think this camera will really make a huge difference. Okay, we are looking at the Canon EOS R10. You know, it is selling at $800 US. The condition is almost new. And it has got 24.2 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. The worst side about this camera is the lens mount is Canon RF mount. Canon RF, they haven't really given third-party manufacturers like Sigma to create RF lenses for their cameras. So RF lenses are still kind of like very scarce and slightly very expensive. That is the only deal breaker. Otherwise, when it comes to resolution, it can shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second, which is oversampled from a 6K sensor, right? It can also shoot 4K 60 frames per second cropped. That was also another downside. So when you are shooting at 4K 60 frames per second, it crops on the sensor. The sensor is already small, but if it crops again, then it really becomes a challenge, especially when it comes to viewing angles and the lenses that you put there. Otherwise, it shoots full HD at 120 frames per second. Really good camera. Sadly, it records only 8-bit 420 internal. It has got a clean HDMI output, which you can use for live streaming, though it is just a micro HDMI. I don't really like micro HDMI. So for some of you who are planning to do live streaming with your camera, at least look for cameras like the GH5, you know, the FX3 that have got a bigger HDMI output, because these micro HDMI where you have to use the converter, sometimes you can be live streaming, then someone disturbs the cable, then the signal lost, which will not be good. All right, so that is the Canon R10. Then I can see people have been looking here for the, don't forget, Canon 90D Mentor. So Canon 90D, it is selling at Canon 90D is selling at $799 US. The condition is almost new. And this is a 32.5 megapixel CMOS sensor. It records 4K video. This is Ultra HD, the UHD video, 3840 by 2160. Sadly, it records up to 30 frames per second in 4K and 120 frames per second in Full HD, which is not bad. The good part is it records 4K UHD with no crop. That is a really selling point for this camera. Most cameras that shoots 4K, they usually crop, right? But the list that I have now, most of them don't crop. The ones that crop are just a few, but mostly the moment you tune to 4K, like the 250D that I'm gonna talk about next, they crop on the sensor, but the 90D doesn't crop. It really gives good videos. I shot 2 music videos for Martin PK1 from Nigeria, a popular gospel artist, and another guy, another artist, underground artist. I used it for some time. I love it, you know, very good color science, very good autofocus. It's really good camera using a processor Digic 8. All right, next on the list we have Canon 250D. I'm busy also fetching your comments as I'm looking for the prices of these cameras. All right, the Canon 250D, this is a steal. The Canon 250D is selling at 450 US dollar. That is the Canon 250D. It has got 24.1 megapixel APS-C sensor, records 4K at cropped. That is just the downside of it, but if you want 4K, it is there. It records 4K up to in frame rates like 24 frames per second, 25 frames per second, and full HD at 60 frames per second. Sadly, it's a really good entry-level 4K camera for some of you who are really under budget. By the way, all these cameras can do amazing jobs. There is no camera that is better than the other. What you get out of the camera is how you use it, your knowledge in videography and stuff like that. That is why it is very important that make sure you have some learning before you even get the camera. Don't rush to get the camera. The camera is not the first thing any aspiring videographer must get. Even those people want to just do vlogs, they have no business in learning all the technical lingo about cameras, but just having basic ideas about frame rate, resolution, ISO, white balance and stuff like that. That basic knowledge, you will need it. And that is where it starts from. All right. So next, for some of you who want to do really high-end videography and stuff like that, we are getting now to cinema cameras that are available. All right, so Mr. Songi here says, so the Canon 90D will have issues for slow motions, but I'm sure it has got a good autofocus. That is 100% because it can only record a 4K at 30 frames per second, which is not really, if you record at 30 frames per second, then in post, you modify your footage to 24, 25 frames per second. It will give you a slightly small, slow motion, but for any person who wants to incorporate slow motion in their videos, I think the frame rate that I recommend is 60 frames per second, right? Okay, let's look at the comments. A lot of comments that are coming today. Let's start with Facebook. It's been long since I checked. Oh man, I have 27 comments. Oh my God. I used, Mr. Doom Arts Films says, I used 250D for a long time and it was good, though I switched to the Father GH5. That was the best option. How good is the Canon C100 or C200? The Canon C100 records only in HD. It's very good. It's a cinema camera. I like the looks, but the C200 is a beast of a camera. It records raw light, Canon raw light. It records 4K up to 6 frames per second. It's really a beast of a cinema camera. I love it. Having internal ND filters, man, amazing. It has got good autofocus. It has got a lot of time code sync. It has got SDI out, HDMI out. It has got XLR audio input. So for people who are into documentaries, feature films, and stuff like that, and music videos that really want to go high end, it's really, really amazing. C200, I will advise you to get it if you have the budget. So we have the C200 for around 1,800 US dollar. Canon mount, 1,800 US dollar. It's a steal. Everything works. It comes with all the accessories apart from the lens. All right. I have many mouses on the table, guys. The other mouse is controlling this side. The other mouse is controlling this side. I keep forgetting. All right. Mr. Maxwell says, don't forget 90D. I've spoken about it. Good evening, Sir San Pedro. This is Mr. Ododo Hanana. Thank you so much for joining. Master, which camera is good for interviews, especially the street interviews and live coverage of wedding and birthdays? So for such kind of event, especially if you are going to do street interviews, it depends in the location where you are, because sometimes if you show up with a bigger camera, you draw attention of so many people. But I would recommend cameras like the Sony ZV-E1 for those street interviews, because it's a beast of a camera, records 10-bit internally, records 4K up to 60 frames per second and stuff like that. So I would recommend a camera like that because it's lightweight, you can hide it, it might not draw so much attentions and stuff like that, especially for things like weddings and birthdays. That camera shines, it has got the best autofocus and stuff like that. And yeah, so I would really start with that kind of a camera. But if you have the budget, you know, again, when it comes to these camera issues, the slightly expensive they are, the better they are in terms of specs, in terms of some of this stuff. So it also depends with the budget. But if I'm going to be doing street interviews where I'm afraid that something can happen to the camera and stuff like that, I think I would go with the with a Canon R10 or Canon R8 and Sony ZV-E1 Mark II. And yeah, Master, which lenses gives you a better camera texture? When it comes to videography, I think prime lenses are the best. And when it comes to the texture is a mixture. You know, the lens can have the lens might not necessarily add a texture, but it might add a certain look. Texture necessarily really comes from the picture style of the, of the camera itself. Yeah, but then when it comes to the way the video looks, if you want your video to look like this was really video-ish, especially if you are using this DSLR camera, best lenses are one of those vintage lenses. You know, I like, anytime I'm shooting with a DSLR camera, I like to add a vintage lens there because it's the one that gives really this video-ish look, smooth yet in focus. You know, otherwise these photography lenses like the Sigma 18 to 35 or the Canon 24 to 70, these are photography lenses. So they make the video look really sharp, which is good for photos. But for video, if you look at Hollywood videos, you look at as if this video, was it out of focus? At the same time, it is in focus. You can see that it is very smooth. It looks video-ish, you know, and stuff like that. All right, Mr. Dumas says, I think my next camera will be the Fuji XM5. It's a really good camera. Shoots open gate, 6K, shoots 10-bit internally, though it's not really good when it comes to autofocus. And I know you are not used to autofocus because you are using the GH5, so this will not be a problem. It's a really good camera. I'm not a videographer, but I'm using Canon 1D Mark IV full frame. Is it good for video? Yeah, it takes really good HD video. You know, it's a photo-first camera. 1D Mark IV is a really nice camera. It's a camera that was made specifically for high-end photography, but it also shoots really good HD video, awesome colors and stuff. Mr. Fabian Chipi, watching all the way from Malawi. You are loud and clear. Thank you so much for tuning. I can see Mr. Danny Okpo watching from Nigeria. Thank you so much. Mr. Lehman Platinum watching in Cape Town. I have ZV-E10. Is it good? It's a really awesome camera. Really awesome camera. If you back it up with some skills, a really awesome camera. Hey buddy, this is Mr. Mev. Long time. My OG followers now, they are back. Hey buddy, long time. I want the Sony ZV-E1. I have always thought ZV-E doesn't have interchangeable lenses. It does. It does. It's a really good camera. So it's available. I think I've mentioned the price in the stream. You can just text me. I'm sure I still have your number actually. I'll check and text you. Mr. Who is this one? Mr. Pixel Foley from Togo. Sir, thank you so much. You are welcome. How much is 4K A6700? I'm from Malawi. It is selling at 1,700 US dollars. That's quite affordable for the ZVE one. Yeah, these are really affordable cameras. These guys, when they give me deals, you know, I have an online school, and my main purpose with that online school, especially for the people in Africa, is to make sure that I help videographers. Sometimes I do giveaways of cameras, drones, and stuff. I've given away cameras. There is no filmmaker in Africa who can match me at this stage in terms of giving away gear to other videographers who are starting. So when these guys give me a deal to say, okay, we saw your live stream, we see that people usually buy a lot of stuff from you, we want you to sell this camera. I negotiate with them already that on each and every camera that you are selling, make sure, I know that they are already cheap, but for my students to benefit, at least make it 15% price down. That's why you can see most of these cameras, even if you go second hands around here in South Africa or in your country, you will see how ridiculous the prices are. They're still very expensive, but these are special deals that I get for people who follow me, for people. My goal is not to have so many people watching or so many people subscribing. My goal is to add as much value to that few people that are watching, so that they don't feel like they wasted their data for nothing, you know. So that's it, Mr. Johnny, watching from Nigeria. Thank you so much. Today we have a lot of people watching from Nigeria. I can see Mr. Tony is watching all the way from Botswana. All right, what is the best format to use for Sony R7 when shooting video event like a wedding? You see, projects like wedding videos, I don't know why a lot of videographers go Oompa Loompa on such kind of projects. These are projects that are even advised that you can shoot at, you can use a camera that has got 8-bit, shoot at a standard picture profile, because these are natural events. You know, they don't really need you to have a sort of like a crazy color grading. By color grading a wedding video to look like a blockbuster, you are defeating the main essence. These are natural events, and they have to look as natural as possible, just really good. So you have to get a camera that is just really good at low light, good autofocus, because especially autofocus, projects like wedding videos, it's events that do not repeat. It's event that you only have one or two leeways to say to the couple, can you kiss again if you missed the focus? But these are events that do not repeat. So you want to make sure that your focus is always on point, your colors are always on point, and stuff like that. All right, I think I have answered most of the questions. There's a lot of cameras. I think I'm going to post about all of these cameras tomorrow on my social media platforms. So check out my Facebook page, my TikTok page, my Instagram page. I'm going to post all these cameras with the prices. So if you are interested in any of them, you can actually hit me up on WhatsApp and we can talk from there. When you're buying a camera from me, it's safe. I'm not going to run away with your money. I'm not going to delay. If I say it will take less than 2 weeks, it's like that. Mostly, actually, it even comes earlier than that. There are some cameras that are already coming to me. I'll have them in stock. So whenever you buy, especially if you are around SA, you can receive your camera in 2-3 days. You'll be having it. You can also create arrangements where you can pay lay-by. There are people in Zambia that are paying for their cameras lay-by. I have the 2 GH5s already in the studio, just right there looking at me. If you are interested, the Lumix GH5, for those who are in South Africa, it's selling at 800 US dollar. Really good. Another one is actually, both of them are coming in the box, but the other one even comes with a menu, still looks new. So really great deals there. Let's see what people on YouTube are saying. All right. It's crazy. You didn't talk about my favorite Canon R5. I love that camera to the max. I was so excited when Canon R5 came out, but sadly that overheating thing put me off, but I'm going to talk about it, and I'm also going to check if we have it. Let me just double check. All right, we have the Canon R5 2400 USD. That's a Canon R5. This camera, when it came out, oh man, I couldn't just really wait to get my hands on it. It has got a 45 megapixel CMOS full frame sensor. You know, it has got over 15 stops of dynamic range. It records up to 8K DCI, you know, 8192 by 4320, up to 30 frames per second, and records 4K up to 120 frames per second. It's a beast of a camera. The bitrate goes up to 2600 megabits per second, or 2.6 gigahertz megabits per second. It records RAW internally, which is really super dope. 422 10-bit internally on a camera that is small. It's really good. No wonder it was overheating. It has got a dual pixel CMOS autofocus Mark II, the one that is improved. It has got 5-axis in-body image stabilization, records Canon log and HDR PQ. So really beast of a camera. This camera is actually a photography first camera, but it has got really solid video features as well. All right, should I shoot wedding at 4K or full HD in is the best? If you have a 4K camera and you have enough storage, I think 4K is the way to go, because you are future-proofing your footage. But for me, when it comes to wedding videography, the only stuff that I shoot in 4K are just really where the video is, where the wedding will have highlights, like the preparations of the wedding, you know, the dances, you know, the venue, like those first clips that you take. Those are the only stuff that I shoot in 4K, but the rest of other stuff, when it comes to speeches and stuff like that, those are things that I never really end up putting in my final edit. I just put here and there, you know, as a form of highlight, because my full wedding edited video goes to 45 minutes. But in Africa, an uncle can give a speech 2 hours straight, and you'll be waiting there, and the wedding owner will be like, I want the speech of my dad, I want the speech of my uncle. So when it comes to those long speeches, I just make sure lighting is good. I shoot everything in HD for me to save space. Those clips, I'm not gonna slow down. I'm not gonna do any creative edit with them. They're just really speeches that the owner of the wedding wants to remember. So it depends. For me, I shoot now everything because I have all the resources, I have all the memory, I have all the computer, the hard drives and stuff. I shoot everything in 4K, 60 frames per second. For performance, dances, and also speeches, I shoot all those clips at 24 frames per second. But all the clips that I want to put in slow motion, 60 frames per second, and shoot everything in 4K. Right, but when I was starting, especially with the Lumix GH4, it only takes one memory card. I had a 256, could shoot the whole wedding, but there are times when I would just adjust the resolution to full HD, because I know those things, there is no creative stuff that I'm gonna do with it. I'm not even gonna post any of the speeches or any of the preaching of a wedding video as in my demo reel or anything like that. Only the things that I feel like the couple spent money on, like the jewelry, their gowns, their stuff, the rings and stuff like that. All those nice slow motion B-roll clips that I know I'm gonna be creative around it, and the couple spent a lot of money for those kind of stuff, like showcasing the venue with a drone and stuff like that. Those are the only stuff that I put in slow motion. All right, camera for church live streaming and the cost. So for church live streaming, I recommend cameras like the Canon C100. I don't really think it's necessary to shoot everything in 4K. If you have the resources, it's good, but a camera like the Canon C100, I recommend those cameras. They have good color science straight out of the camera, really good autofocus. And if you have the budget, you can look at the Canon C300. Those are the best. They have HDMI in, they have HDMI out, SDI out, timecode out. They've got big XLR cables for sound, really good cameras. And they're actually very cheap, you know, they're actually very cheap. The C300 is selling for how much? Canon C300. Okay, we just have two available. We just have two available, selling for $1,200 US. So all you need to do is to put the lens. The reason why I'm recommending these cameras, apart from the traditional Sony NX cams, the one that we have been using since the days of Nelson Mandela, since 2015, those cameras, I think they are slightly outdated. Though they are still expensive, they've been upgraded. Some are shooting in 4K and stuff like that. But I really figure out that a camera that has got interchangeable lenses would be very, very good even for church live streaming. That's why I always advise people who are doing church media, you know, just because it's church doesn't really mean that you should go that cheap, you know. God is not going to be happy. You are buying a nice car, but you want to buy a cheap camera for church. That's the trend when it comes to church. Church people don't like to buy good cameras, actually. So I would recommend a Canon like a camera like Canon C300. Records really good HD video. The HD video, if you look at my YouTube video that I did, the studio tour, I filmed that whole video. If you want to look at the quality of that camera, I filmed that video on Canon C300, and I supplied those cameras to another church. And they are making really good videos. The good part is you can interchange lenses. If you want to go with telephoto lenses, you can just add a lens. And overall, the look of the camera looks very serious. Even when the pastor is preaching and you are on camera as a church guy, you can feel very proud of yourself that you are really doing great. It has got two CFast Express cards. So recording, you can record up to forever. It has got direct power input, you know, you can use it without the battery, and even the battery itself, those batteries last for a long time, right? So those are some of the cameras that I would really recommend for a church that is looking to buy church cameras in 2025. All right, when is smartphone videography course out, my teacher? The smartphone videography course is going to be out hopefully end of February. I've recorded the courses already. I'm just doing the edits. You know, I never really rush for things that stand for a test of time. All the courses that are available right now, I recorded all those courses in 2021. I launched the courses in 2022. Up to now, they are still standard. If you go through those courses and look at the materials, you'll actually be amazed, because I don't just create things for now, I create things that stand a lot of time. So all the 5 courses, I want them to launch at the same time. I think the smartphone videography course is already done. It's just some few edits, because I'm not just editing for one platform. There are other people. There are other people that wants to collaborate with me on these filmmaking classes. They want to post them on their platforms and sell on my behalf and stuff like that. So I'm just with the smartphone videography course, I'm just really editing, just exporting for other formats to accommodate on other websites. But on my website, I make sure they go at high quality, which is 4K. That's great. So they are coming. I have 5 new courses that are coming up. Smartphone videography. I have a YouTube class that is coming, how to shoot YouTube videos that people can watch, that people can get entertained on. You know, I only post educational videos, and you know how much people hate educational stuff. They just want people dance naked, comedy and stuff like that. Not a lot of people that can really say, unless those people are serious, but it's not a lot of people. But even educational courses, there's a way that I shoot my YouTube videos that actually makes people to watch them, to a point where I have now 22,000 subscribers, and I don't even post regularly there. It's only now that I'm going to start posting regularly, because I've been taking so many of your questions, and now I have time to create content. So I'm going to create a lot of content. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, just go and subscribe there. But YouTube course is also coming, where I teach you how to sell yourself as a YouTube, get 1,000 subscribers within a month and 4,000 watch hours, and hopefully how you can start making money out of that. I never really took YouTube as a source of income, but when it started paying me, I'm like, wait a minute, people are making money with this thing. I'm not really planning to go that route because I have my own platform where I make money. But for you, it can be really something that can get you into this thing of videography. So I'm also working on what you call this course again. I'm also working on After Effects course. One of you was asking me, how did you create that intro? Right? So with After Effects, you'll be able to create things like all these kind of graphics. These are all the available courses, by the way. This is where you can enroll, ufc.unifyinventive.net. So these are all my available courses, and all these graphics, you create them with After Effects. And this is one of the courses that I'm going to be launching. All these are the courses that are available. So another course is DaVinci Resolve. A lot of people, they have learned color grading in Adobe Premiere Pro. So once you really can color grade with Adobe Premiere Pro, you can color grade with any program, because that gives you a full understanding on how to use lumetri scopes, define colors, split colors, such kind of stuff, color contrast. You get all those things in my color grading pro, but people have demanded that I should do another tutorial how to edit with DaVinci Resolve, because Adobe Premiere Pro, you can get full access to it when you pay for a subscription and stuff. But with DaVinci Resolve, it's a free software. There's a payment. I still think it's a free software. Last time I checked. And DaVinci Resolve is the software that I was using back in 2023, in 2015, 2016, when I was using that Blackmagic Cinema cameras 2.5K, because it came with that dongle. So I was editing, I was actually color grading in DaVinci Resolve before it became an editing software. I only migrated to Adobe Premiere Pro because I do a lot of stuff, like After Effects, the graphic that I just showed you now. I can work on that graphic while it's linked to Adobe Premiere Pro. I can link Adobe Illustrator to Photoshop. I can link Photoshop to Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects. So that's why I love Adobe Premiere Pro, but that doesn't mean that DaVinci Resolve is not good. So I'm working on a course, DaVinci Resolve, and for those people who wants to create their own online classes, it might not be necessarily about videography. Maybe you are a makeup artist, or maybe you are a videographer, someone who does makeup. You can collaborate with them and create for them a course with them doing their makeup, then publish that course on their behalf, and you split the money. So I'm creating a course on how to create online courses to sell your knowledge, because this is one of the passive income that I taught in my course, Business Videography, because I gave 10 side hustles that you can do in videography to generate extra income. So if you are a videographer specialized in music videos, there are times when people are not creating music videos, or maybe you are into events videography. These are seasonal projects. If it's not time for events, you're not going to get a lot of clients. So how are you going to make money during that period as a filmmaker, as a videographer? That's where these all side hustles come in. So I'm creating a course about that. So just stay tuned. If you are not following me on any of my platforms, I'm on Facebook as San Pedro. I'm on YouTube as San Pedro Official. I am on Instagram as sanpedro.ui. I am on TikTok as San Pedro Official. So just follow. When those courses launch, you'll be the first person to know. All right. I think I'm about to close the live stream. Boss, please, do you have the color grading course available? The color grading course is available right now. All right, let me just show you all the available courses now that you can get. I just hope this thing will show clearly. All right, so these are all the available courses that are there now. If you want to learn about cameras, it's this course here, DSLR Cinematic Filmmaking. If you want to learn about video editing, Adobe Premiere Pro, you can get this course. If you want to learn about color grading, you can get this course. If you want to learn about music videos, you can get this course here, Music Video Ultra. If you want to learn about wedding videography, you can get this course here, Wedding Video Ultra. If you want to learn everything that has to do with making money in videography, you can get this videography business. For those of you who wants to learn how to live stream, you can get this live streaming Pro Plus course. These are in detailed course. These are super detailed course. So you can see the prices are already there. You pay with PayPal or any of these payment options that you can see down here. But if you want to enroll in all these classes at once, you can just get the premium access, which will give you access to all these classes here, all of them, including all these digital products. Like you can get lens flares for your Photoshops and overlays. You can get Lightroom presets, over 23,000 Lightroom presets. You can get over 3,000 LUTs. You can get over 1,000 videography transitions. All these things, they'll actually really help you to make your videos standard. So if you want to enroll in this course, just go to this website in the corner here. Let me just zoom it out. You can just go to this website here, ufc.unifyinventive.net. That is where you find all my courses. So those are all my available courses. All right. As I'm winding up, guys, let me know if you have any questions. It's crazy. It's crazy. Today I'm talking to only pros. Today I'm only talking to pros. All right. Okay, so someone here is asking, I've been, Mr. Danish says, I've been editing with Adobe Premiere Pro, ADS, Grass Valley, Sony Vegas, and I want to go into Avid Media. Please, sir, I really need courses for this software. I think Avid Media is for, there's a movie that we're editing and we're using Avid Media. The thing is, when I create a course, is because it's so much on demand, people want to know, like there's a few people who knows, but with Avid Media, there isn't really like a lot of people who wants to start editing with Avid Media. So I could create a course about that. Maybe I can just create some tutorials just to walk you through around it, but it's not really a software that a lot of people are demanding. All right, how much is the Blackmagic Pocket 4K? The Blackmagic Pocket 4K is out of stock. It was available, I think, for $800. I'm the one who sold it. In the first consignment of cameras that came, it was there. I sold it already. Did you shoot any videos with Canon R5? I shot a lot of events videos, by the way, not really like music videos and stuff. The time that I had the Canon R5, I was shooting events videos, events highlights, and also taking pictures of the events. That is the only way that was its purpose at that time. I had Canon R5, R6, and 1DX Mark II. And I used to hire this camera out. So the people who used to hire them frequently ended up just buying them from me. So I shot with that camera. The only downside of it is the overheating issue. I think I got one of the earliest models that had a lot of overheating issues, so I didn't like it that much. Do those GH5 have Vlog installed already? Yes, both of them, they have Vlog installed already. Mr. Elisha says, I'm from Nigeria. How can I use After Effects for editing? Please, After Effects is not a video editing program. It's a visual effects program where you create visual effects like set extensions and stuff like that, motion graphics. You can edit, but it will be very, very difficult for you to edit. So you might just as well stick to programs like Adobe Premiere Pro, Filmora, DaVinci Resolve, because those are video editing dedicated programs. After Effects is for visual effects. So I'm creating a course about After Effects where you can actually create motion graphics, cool intros, cool animations and stuff like that. It's going to be amazing. All right. Hello, Mr. San Pedro. What's the difference between free Adobe Premiere Pro and the one it needs to pay per month? Or yeah, because me, I use free Adobe Premiere Pro. I don't think there is any difference. I don't think there's any difference. Even in my computer right now, I have Adobe Premiere Pro that is free. Okay. All the Adobe suite that I'm using, they're actually free that I downloaded. If you want, what you call this, I can send you the torrents. Then you can just go and download the whole suite. I use Adobe Premiere Pro because there are other updates that usually happens, you know, when you are paying. So if you get a standalone installed Adobe Premiere Pro, you might not have access to other few things that they might add in future, or maybe an update and stuff like that, which doesn't really bother me a lot because everything that I need is already there. So there isn't any difference, just like Mr. Joe Malcolm is answering you. All right, I think we are done here, guys. Let me know. Okay, I still have questions here on YouTube. This is Mr. David Gabriel. And also live streaming in church. What software is required or app so as to available on social media like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram? All right, so I answered this question already. So for me, when you're doing church live streaming and you want to push your stream to, let's say, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all at once, I recommend you use a software like Vmix, because it can push to 3 platforms at once when you are live streaming natively from the software. But Vmix is a paid software. You can use it for free for 2 months. In the course that I have, Live Streaming Pro, I have described how you can actually use Vmix for free, though I don't like to talk about it because Vmix, they went to my YouTube channel and deleted that video where they reported that video where I was talking about how using Vmix for free. But you can actually use it, and I have explained step-by-step process in my course, Live Streaming Pro. But if you want a free software, you can use OBS. It is also good. You can push your stream to different platforms, but you have to download another plugin to work with OBS, which is multi-stream plugin, which you can find also on their website. And OBS is the software that I also use to push my stream to Instagram, because Instagram doesn't really have a landscape option like this. It has portrait. So with Instagram, there's another plugin that you need to install in OBS in order for you to have a vertical video that can push your live stream to Instagram. So all those processes, they are all explained in my course, Live Streaming Pro. All right, do we have people on TikTok? I'm here watching from YouTube. Okay, where can I get your wallpaper? You can just ask. You can just get my WhatsApp number and just I'll send you the wallpaper. It's not a problem. All right, so we don't have a lot of questions. All right, guys, thank you so much. It has been amazing having this live stream. Let me know in the comment section. I'm just gonna wait for 2 minutes. Let me know in the comment section what tomorrow's live stream should be about. What should we talk about? Okay, someone says, please paste the link for the Adobe. I'll paste the link just after this live stream is over. It's actually torrents. You can just go on Pirate Bay. I don't like putting these words in my streams because because they might cut this live stream and report it that I'm giving all these items for free. Okay, I've answered most questions. What live? Who is this one? Mr. Boy Media Chonzi. There's a lot of questions, eh? There's a lot of questions from different platforms. So he says, Mr. Boy Media says, you didn't answer me. What was your question, please? Can you paste your questions again before I go? Tomorrow, Mr. Moses says we should teach on script writing. Not a problem. I have a full YouTube video where I talk about how to write a music video treatment, right? So I'm gonna expand, tomorrow I'm gonna expand on that video. So let's meet tomorrow and talk about script writing and planning for your video. I think actually it's a really good topic because most videographers think that just having a good camera is enough. But there's so much that goes into the video than just really a camera. A camera is not really important, you know, for you to create a good video. It is actually at the end of the whole planning. When I'm planning a video, I don't think about the camera until the end because I have planned how my video is going to look like from the idea that I want to do. Then I start planning how I want this video to look like. Then I start planning how the locations that I'm gonna use for this video. Then I'm gonna plan the color palette that I'm gonna use. What kind of costumes are my talents and my subjects going to put on? What kind of lighting? What kind of gimbals for some of the shots that I want to be in this video? What kind of, all those kind of stuff. And then after you come up with all this stuff, that's when you think about the camera. Which camera can actually give me these things that I want to do? Then you start looking at the camera itself. You start looking at what kind of lenses and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about this tomorrow in details. I'm using, okay, Mr. Chonzi, I'm using Canon M50, but it's not taking my smartphone as an external monitor, but I bought everything as you teach. All right, so it's not every camera that is gonna take your smartphone as a camera monitor. So even in that video, I explained that make sure your camera has got HDMI output that can output to an external monitor. So if you are saying your Canon M50 cannot connect to your smartphone, can it connect to an external monitor? If it can connect to an external monitor, then it can also connect to a smartphone as an external monitor. Just follow the steps. Sometimes you might have bought a capture card that is faulty, sometimes maybe in the cables. So if you can connect it to an external monitor, try it on your TV. If it can show on your TV, then the cable is fine. Then you go to the next thing. Can it connect, can that capture card that you bought, is it working? Try to connect it to the computer and use it as a webcam. If it does, then the smartphone is the problem. What kind of smartphone do you have? Did you download the software that you need to download in your smartphone in order for you to use it as an external monitor? So just troubleshoot the whole connection, go through the software, go through the tutorial step by step, and try to reconnect everything. All right, Mr. Fabian Chipi Guala says, yes, script writing, it will be good topic for tomorrow. All right. All right, Mr. Okpo says, boss, please create time to talk about the different genres of media field for the upcoming. All right, I think I'm going to talk about that after tomorrow's live. Tomorrow we are going to talk about script writing, which is going to be very exciting. And then after that, I'm going to talk about different types of genres, you know, like there's a lot of different types of genres in videography. You know, we have weddings, we have live streaming, we have music videos, we have documentaries, we have got short films, we have got skits, we have got vlogs, we have got so many. So which one should you major into as an upcoming videographer, as a beginner videographer? So I'll talk about the ones that I started with that helped me to generate money quickly and stuff like that. So it will be amazing. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Share your WhatsApp number, sir. My WhatsApp is on my bio. If you go on my bio after this live, my WhatsApp number is there. It should be the first thing that you'll see. Can Canon 2000D connect on a smartphone? I haven't really used the Canon 2000D, but just put that question on YouTube and you have a lot of people telling. Those are really like very small things. I haven't really like used it, but you can just check on the manual if it can connect. All right. Mr. Songi, I have really benefited from taking your courses, even when I don't have a camera. Thank you so much. That is a powerful review. The good part with my courses, there is no person who has taken that course who will say, this course was a waste of my time. Nobody. Ever since that course was created, you can just go through my YouTube channel and go through the comments. Even on some of the videos, you will not find really negative videos, negative comments like, this guy is not talking what. I talk from experience and I talk things that are practical. That is where the good part is. Because if you want to argue with me, follow the practice and see if you will not get the same results. That's how I teach. Mr. Mashaba says, thank you so much, sir. Is Canon 650D a good camera? Yes, it's a really good camera. What does it take for you to color grade for me a music video? I don't color grade videos for other people, not because I don't want to, but I'm just really so busy. I have also many projects. I have like 3 personal projects that are edited, just need to color grade. So I don't really color grade for other people. But you can learn how to color grade by yourself from my course, because all the steps that I take to color grade my videos, I have illustrated them there step by step. So it's really great. All right. Mr. Joe Marcon says, and your tutorials are straight to the point. Exactly. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning. I'm gonna close the live stream now. I'll see you tomorrow. If you are interested in getting any of my course, you'll find all my courses in this outro video here.